Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello.
Okay. Hi, nice to meet you.
So I just start? Do you guys do anything? Do I? No, I really don't. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. We're just going to get started. Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is, do I have to stand in a certain spot? Because I'm a wanderer, so I need to know whether I need to be. If someone's monitoring. Okay, great. Maybe go back to Zoom. I see myself there. So I can go to the end of that board till about the middle of the screen. Okay, I can wander within that. Okay, great. Oh no, maybe I'm not screen sharing. Actually, I am. Okay, thank you. Super. I was trying earlier, it didn't seem to work. So it's all good, it's not your fault. I blame you. No, it's all good. Thank you so much. It's great. All right. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone out there in virtual land and in real people. Look, faces, amazing. My name is Cynthia Allen, but you can call me Cindy. I am a longest title on campus, career development and experiential learning specialist at the Career Corner. So, yeah, who has heard of the Career Corner? Yes. So a few of you haven't, but that's okay. You will by the end of this session. Basically what we do in a nutshell, I'll tell you more about our services later because I think it's going to be really good for you to know for your members and also to let you know that we can do sessions for your members. We do that a lot for clubs where we'll do a resume session or we'll teach about LinkedIn or we'll do like job search anxiety, whatever. Anything around careers, we'll kind of do it. But basically, we're sort of your one-stop shop when it comes to getting experience when on campus, or while in school, I should say. It's not only on-campus experience, but off-campus as well. So it includes, we can give you info on co-op, volunteering, part-time jobs. We organize fairs. There's a part-time job fair coming up September 22nd. Not that any of you will have time for that, because as club presidents, I'm sure you'll be busy enough. We have career counselors. So if you're not sure what you want to do, you can come see one of our career counselors or specialists and we can sort of go through what your options are and help you with that and even do psychometric testing. So if any of your members are like, oh, I don't know, I hate my program, but I don't know what to do, send them to us. We can work with them and help them. And there's nothing worse than getting a fourth-year student who's about to graduate saying, okay, well, I hated my program. Now what do I do? Come in early and, work that out. But we'll talk about that later. Today, we're going to talk about selling, as I said, your awesome club president skills and experience to any employer. So I'd like if everyone could go to menti.com and use that code for a little bit. We're going to have a little bit of an exercise in just a bit, just to get ready. So did you guys do the land acknowledgement at the beginning of the session? You did? At the beginning of the day, because usually that's when it's supposed to be done at the beginning of the day when there's a conference like this, and then it's usually only done once. So I just wanted to confirm that it was done. So, okay, amazing. Yes. I'm so sorry. Previous. So it's menti.com and then use the code 92042310. Yes.
Should we start filling it now?
Sure, if you want to. I'm going to be on that page. If you have ideas already, start to put them in, but I'll be on that slide in like 2 minutes. So go nuts. So know yourself. This is really questions you want to ask yourself as you prepare for a job search. Why? Because then you're going to help yourself figure out what skills that you need to promote to any employer based on what you're looking for. So it's going to be different skills based if you're applying for a part-time job. So you're just like, I just need a part-time job at the Rito Center, make extra cash for Christmas. I want to go on a trip, blah, blah, blah. That's going to be different than maybe applying for a job at an accounting firm. And it might be different from applying to a club president position or something like that. So that's what's really important is, first of all, knowing what your interests are, what your goal is in the end. And that's really important. Then we're going to talk about your skills, figuring out what you're good at. Okay. Figuring out what, there's a lot of skills you gain as a club president. We're going to explore those in a second. So figuring out what those are, but then figuring out those that you excelled at and which ones can you sell. I mean, that's basically what you're doing, right? You as club presidents, you're selling your club. As when you're applying for a job, you're selling yourself. Okay. And then this is where your club president experience will come in. What concrete experience have you gained to support your interests? Okay, now we're not going to get into an interview workshop here today, but there's a type of interview called behavioral interviewing. Tell me about a time when. Give me an example when. This is where you can use some of your experience and skills to prove you have those skills. One thing employers don't tend to do. And just so you know my background a little bit, I should say I used to be an employer. So for about 20 years, I was a recruiter. I worked for 3 different companies. I worked for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Thermo Fisher Scientific, and MD Financial Management. So I did the interviewing. And then 4 years decided to come to the good side and come to the university and help people like you sort of, realize that, this interviewing stuff and resume stuff is actually, there's not that big of a mystery to it. You just, kind of got to figure out what the employer wants and sell to what they want. But that's when those type of questions, which if any of you have interviewed, have probably received. Hey, give me an example of when you worked in a team. Give me an example of when, and this is when you're going to find their concrete experience, or where you're going to have to kind of remember these examples from your club experience that can be really beneficial and employers will really see as important. And then your resume, your interview answers should reflect who you are, reflect the answers to these questions, any question you get from an employer. Oftentimes, you don't know what you're going to get. But most of the time you can figure it out. And I think that's one question I get a lot. How do I know what the employer is going to ask me in the interview? How do I know what they're looking for? How do I sell myself? What should I sell myself on? Easy. Job description. Job posting. Everything you need is right there. Okay. And it's really taking it, print it out. That's what I do when I apply for a job. I take it, I print it out, and I literally go through and highlight. We're looking, if they say in the job description, they use teamwork, collaborate, work with others, and say those kind of things like 3-4 times in the job description, you better be ready for a question on teamwork. Simple as that. They're not going to, obviously, if you're applying for an accounting position where they need analytical skills, all of a sudden ask you, so have you baked a cake before? They're not going to, they're literally going to focus on what's required for that job. So using that job description can help you narrow down, okay, what skills you're looking for. And then we take your experiences you received as a club president or other experiences, but the specific experience you get as a club president that you can use to sell to those skills. Okay. So this is where you guys do the work. Oh, no, I have to go to, because that page wasn't working. I have to go here. Let's see what we got. Okay. Presentation skills, communication skills, leadership, teamwork skills. Yes. Those are all very broad. I'm going to not pick on you, but I'm going to communication skills, very broad topic. Very, very broad. I can communicate. Well, so can your barista at Starbucks. So can pretty much everyone, really, if you ask them, everyone walking down the street communicate. As a club president, what specific type of communication skills are you really maybe different from others? What are you doing? Think about what you're doing. What kind of things are you doing where you have to use your communication skills? Yeah. Yes. So relaying information, probably in more than one language, probably in a way that people will understand, right? And who else are you relaying information to? There's your group members. Who else are you potentially relaying information to?
General club.
General club members, and who else perhaps? Yeah.
Representatives from the school.
Representatives from the school. Yeah, absolutely. Who else?
External organizations.
External organizations. How many of you guys are looking for sponsorship? I mean, not me. Actually, someone wants to sponsor me. I'm happy to wear a logo here, right here. Give me $1,000. I'll be like a Nike rep. I don't know. But yeah, so exactly. External people, your club members, other individuals at the school. Is there anyone else? Yeah.
Other students, so like prospective students that might want to join your club.
Prospective students. I mean, that's probably important for you guys too, is to get members. So you might have to what's that word? Convince. You know, there's some selling. So communication, there's some selling that you might have to do to students. Like, join our club. It's going to be beneficial. Here are the reasons why. You know, maybe you have, are the faculties, any of you are in a sort of a faculty club? I know you are. Are the faculties coming back to you saying, well, what are you doing in your club? What's the benefit of this club? What are you going to do for the students? Any faculties coming out after you? University itself? CVUO coming after you? How are you spending my money? That's a different kind of, those are all different kind of communication skills. So what I'm going to challenge you is, yes, communication skills, 100%. But you can narrow it down and really use all these different ways that you communicate, depending on which employer you're talking to. So if you're applying for a job where you have to relay information to upper management, we'll talk about the times you have to talk to faculty, or you have to talk to sponsors, potential employers. If you're applying for a job where you will have to sell or you will have to convince people, you can talk about selling to your members. You can talk about convincing people to nominate you as president if there was a nomination process and all of that. So that's all communication skills, but with different flavors to it, right? So that's the way I want you guys to think of this, is not just say, I have communication skills. Like I said, pretty much everyone puts that on their resume. Everyone. You can take it that next level, okay? Depending on the skill that you want to focus on, and that will depend on the job you're applying to, or who you're speaking to, or what employer you're speaking to. Okay, so that's communication skills. Presentation skills, who are you presenting to? Anyone? Potentially all those people. So if you're doing a sponsorship, you're going to maybe have to go in and do a sales pitch with a PowerPoint presentation. Are any of you creating sponsorship documents? If you're doing, like, if you become a gold member for our club, you will get blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so you create those presentation skills are verbal and probably written as well. That's the other, sorry, I forgot that about communication skills. I was just focusing on verbal. But think of all the written communication skills are needed. Writing emails to your members, writing emails to potential sponsors, writing to the CVUO, having to give a report, an analysis of the events you had and what participation you had, and all that kind of stuff, right? All different types. So presentation skills, leadership skills, absolutely. I think this is one that's really, really important because correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm always right. I like to be, but I'm not, clearly, most of the time. Leadership skills are hard to get, I think, at your stage in your career. You're not often given with your part-time jobs or your co-op jobs, or even in your classroom, you're not necessarily often thrown into leadership roles. Well, now you're clearly the leader of this group. So that's a big thing you can sell. Okay. And I'm challenge you Again, there's a lot of different ways to think about leadership. What are different aspects of leadership? What are you guys going to be doing? Have any of you been club presidents before? Like this is your first time. So you have, okay. So as a leader for your club, what are your responsibilities as the leader? Yeah.
I think that mostly because each executive does something different. So you have to be the connecting point between everyone.
Yes.
So that other people have clear communication of what's going on over everything and making sure that everything's getting done, especially like clear communication of all updates, meeting deadlines,
Mm-hmm.
supervising what other people do to make sure it's up to standard.
Yep. Yep. All those things. You were a president before. Did you have anything to add to that?
Planning events and the type of content you want to have, what kind of club you want to have, and what kind of people you want to get into the club.
Yes. What kind of club? What kind of people you want in the club? Vision. That's what the leader has. Vision. That's the difference between a leader and a manager. A manager does and I'm not saying that's not wrong what you said. I think it's absolutely right what you said. I apologize. I don't know your name. But a lot of what you said were management roles. You manage. Where are we hitting our deadlines? Is everyone on the same page? Is everything this? The leader is the vision. What do we want our club to look like? What do we want it to help students with? The vision. I mean, and I don't know if I've had the opportunity to work a long time, but where I've worked with managers and leaders, and managers are very much the day-to-day. Okay, what's going on? Da, 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 da. And the leaders are like the vision for this group, the vision for this. This is what we're working towards. So that's the difference between leader and manager. You've got both in this role. You've absolutely got both. Some people I know have created their own clubs on campus. I've met, I don't know if any of you, she's graduated now, Bimpe was her name. She was an CA, sorry, you guys call them CAs. In my university, we call them RAs. She created her own club. She started her own club. So that's leadership, right? Starting it from scratch, having the vision, knowing what she wants to do. So that's where your leadership comes in. And teamwork skills. Who are you working with as a team? Your executives? Who else?
Sponsors,
Sponsors. Yeah.
general members.
General members. Yes, because maybe some of them are coming to volunteer. Maybe they're not on the executive, but they're like, no, but I'll come volunteer to give name tags at your next event or whatever it might be. Yes, you had your hand up.
We also the same with club members, also for the volunteers and other volunteers.
Other colleagues, I was just going to say each other, colleagues, what I would call colleagues. Again, different levels of teamwork, from teamwork with your volunteer coordinator or your volunteers, to teamwork with each other, to teamwork with sponsors, to teamwork maybe with your faculty, right? Because maybe they're going to come to you depending on your group and say, hey, you know what? We have this event coming up. We'd really like you to get it down to your members. We'd really like you to do this. I don't know if any of you have already had that but more than likely you'll probably have that at some point, right? So yeah, so verbal communication, leadership, yeah, time management, right? And oftentimes you're not only managing your time, you're managing your executive's time. Okay, you're holding them accountable. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. What's your name?
Marika.
Marika?
With the O.
Mariko? Okay, I was like, where was the O? Oh, Marika? I don't know. Mariko. You're managing, you said keeping deadlines. When we don't have on here, project management. So yes, we talked about management, but how many of you are thinking of maybe going to work for a firm or going to work for an organization where they're looking for project management? Who can take on a project management? That's what you're doing every day, right? Professional correspondence. Yes, navigating conflict. Huge, right? That is a skill. And that's the thing with all the initiative. Huge, right? One of the questions I ask one of the questions I ask for, because we hire career mentors at the from the work study program. One of the questions I ask in my interview is, tell me a time when you saw something that needed to be done and you did it. Tell me about a time when you took initiative. It's huge for employers right now. That's a skill that is huge. It's really, it was always big, but I think we're coming out of the pandemic. We're coming out and into the real world. This need for people who will take initiative and do it and go that extra mile is there more than ever. Okay. So huge. Public speaking, organization, discipline. Interesting. Discipline. What do you mean by discipline?
It's kind of similar to time management, but just making sure that you're disciplined getting your tasks done, but also not disciplining your exec members, but making sure
I just wanted to check.
that they're getting their tasks done as well. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to know whether I had to contact human rights. That's all I needed to check. Just, yeah. But you're absolutely right. What you were saying, Mariko, right? What you were saying, and your name is?
Esther.
Esther. So just what Esther was saying and what you were saying is keeping on top of them. Right. And then that is a very good point with the conflict management that was up there. It's huge. What if they're not? What if you have to have that conversation where they're not getting their stuff done? And you have an event in 2 days and they still haven't got the printing done for the spot. Look at you shaking your head. You're like, it happens all the time. Oh my God. Right.
It's like that's where initiative comes in. Because
Yeah.
you have to make sure that they understand like the necessity of it getting done if there's an event in 2 days. But then after that, you have to sit with them, explain like the whole thing and get their feedback. And then like, listen, like you need to figure this out. But like, if you need my help, I'll come in there. We'll talk this through. And it's going to take it's going to be a slow process.
Mhm.
It's going to have to revamp the whole dynamic of that. But you have to do it.
You have to do it. You have to do it. Sometimes, and there's a lot of reasons why someone might not do it. And I think that's where your ability to handle conflict and to keep your cool and not discipline too hard, but to kind of go have that conversation of maybe, so it's not done yet. Let's talk about that. What's going on for you? And they might just say, I don't know how to do it, but I was too shy to ask. It happens with my work, with my mentors all the time. You're like, oh, why didn't you tell me? Okay, let's sit down and let's do it together. And I think a lot of us, we assume, oh, we know how to do it. Like, it's not hard. Go and print things. Oh, I don't know. Where's the print center? Is there a print center? I don't know. They're asking for a cost code, but so people kind of shut down sometimes if they don't know. So it's important to have, and that's going to be part of your management, becoming managers, right? But then as well, there could be those people that are just plain lazy. Let's be honest. They want, that title on their resume. I was executive thing, but they don't do anything. So then that's a different kind of conversations you have to have. But that's a whole other workshop at this point. So as you can see, there's a lot of skills that you guys are getting and you can use them, but it's not as simple as just putting on your resume communication skills. Anybody can do that, right? You guys, you people, sorry guys, ladies, people, you really touch on a lot of different aspects of each. And then it's deciding, okay, what am I going to pull based on the job description? Which one am I going to focus on? So maybe you are looking at a job description where they talk about negotiation. You need someone with strong negotiation skills. Boom. Yes, I negotiated this. I need someone who can resolve conflict. Boom, I can go there. So that's where you're going to really, and that's when you probably heard, if you've ever done a resume workshop or had your resume looked at, tailoring your resume, this is what it's all about, right? So this is great. There's a lot of great stuff here and there's more. Like, let's be frank. If you guys at the end of this year, be curious to do this exercise again at the end of this year, see how many more skills come up. Yes.
Kind of funny because recently I had to make a resume because I wanted to volunteer at a family medical clinic
Mhm.
and help with like administrative stuff. So I did have to like pull, it's not about like necessarily like listing every skill you have, but I literally have to search up like secretary roles and then tailor it so that it's specifically those kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, employers take, let's be honest, employers take maybe an average of 30 seconds to look at a resume. Sorry. I wish I could tell you that all that hard work that you put in for hours that we're just like, oh, it's so beautiful. And look, like, no, because we have 100 others to go through, right? So we're going through, and the clearer you can make it where all your skills are, boom, right there. Oh, they have everything I'm looking for. Yes, pile. Done. Okay. So that's what I want to make the difference with regards to talking about skills. And these skills, oh, I might have missed some here. Sorry. Helping others set boundaries. How cool is that? Who said that? Don't be shy. Yeah, talk about that. I love that.
It's just that for me, like I'm like the vice president of philanthropy for Phil.
Okay.
And that we do a lot of stuff, and at the other, and there's also like the school, there's also work. I just want all of my like members to not put all of their, I want them to put like their effort into it, but I don't want it to be just like conflicting with other responsibilities, with other stuff, so it's just like helping them navigate, you know, the roles and responsibilities in this, as well as helping them be, you know, set boundaries within.
There's a leader right there. Amazing. Hard. It's hard. If anybody, I do an Instagram show, Cafe Career Corner Coffee Chat on Fridays, every second Friday. Yesterday's was about time management. And we talked about one of the hardest thing in the world is saying no. I still have trouble. Kid, will you babysit my kid this weekend? Yeah, sure. And then the Saturday comes, I'm like, oh shit. Why did I say yes? I don't want to babysit these people's children. I want to just go to a patio and hang out. Do that with a child. No, probably not. Right. So, but we're so like the people pleasers. And I'm going to guess for you guys in your roles, you're probably people that like to help people. I'm going to guess. It's usually people, those kind of people are going to be in that kind of role. So yeah, hey, can you? Yeah, no problem. No problem. I'll take care of that. Oh, do you want? Yeah, no problem. I'll do that. Hey, do you mind calling it? Yeah. And you might have people that you're going to see are always saying yes. And you might have to say, you know what? I think you have enough. Can you take on this? So that's a really, really great leadership skill. And it's really hard for people to say no. So that's a great skill, because sometimes you do need to. I know my boss needs to do it with me, because I'm always like, I'll do it. And they're like, you have 15 projects. And I'm like, I know. Let's see. Approachability. Okay, let's talk about that. Approachability. Why is that important?
Because you're like the face of the club.
Yeah.
Be comfortable coming.
Yeah, exactly. And that's huge. That's going to be huge for working with anyone, right? So for fun, I'm going to pick on you because since you answered the question, give me an example when you were approachable, when you had to show your approachability.
I guess when you first meet your team and like usually during the general meetings we host, we're all part of the same club.
Oh, okay.
That's why I took a picture of us. But like during the general meetings, like just being friendly and like saying hi to everyone who comes in, and like that's where you kind of do your recruitment. And even I was like the vice president external last year, so everyone that I wanted to collaborate with, or even like that I would meet in person, like I'd always like greet them with a smile, and like if I see them again, like I'll make sure to say hi. So that like relationship, and make sure like if they needed anything that they felt comfortable with me.
Yeah, exactly. What is one of the reasons why people join clubs? Meet other people, to connect with other people, to be part of something. So you'd probably be surprised that you walking down the hallway past a member, recognizing them and saying hi, they probably went, holy shit, sure. It's, yeah, you know, I know you're kind of like, not really. No, like that's a big deal for people. People want to connect with others. And a lot of people, especially your first years, don't know anybody and they're trying to connect with each other. And that's what clubs do. So that's another thing. That's why approachability is so important. You're making connections, you're helping people connect with each other. So yeah, so I'd be very curious. It'd be fun to do this exercise, come back and get you all together. Yeah, we go to F&S and have drinks or something and ask you what other skills you think you've gained from your year of being a club president, you know? But that's great. Let's, it's 2:00 already. It's like, oh my God. But what the reason I'm really want to go into this aspect of it and really kind of focus on the different skills you gain and understand is I want you to understand the nuances and how, you know, I'm going to say it again, but based on the job you're applying for, you can pull little nuances from each situation. So you might, because one thing sometimes I talk to students and they're saying, I keep feeling I'm using the same example. I keep using the same example. You don't necessarily have to. You don't have to kind of say, oh, when I was club president, you could talk about I was organizing this event and I really had to have good project management skills, da 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 da. And then another one says, oh, well, I was, you know, having a meeting, and it's all different. Even though yes, it's all in the same position, it's all different, and that's fine. Okay. So there are what I call employability skills. The University of Ottawa has created them, and they're called UO competencies. And you can get an access of them here. And these are skills that employers are looking for. And I think it's who here is in a technical field, computer science, biology, engineering, all that kind of stuff. How many of you think that, oh, I'll just put all my technical skills on my resume and that's good enough? Great. None of you raised your hands. Thank you. You'd be amazed at how many resumes I see every day that are like they're technical. We're preparing people for interviews. It's like, why are you asking me about teamwork? I'm an engineer. Like, well, guess what? You'll be working with others. And the technical stuff, honestly, sometimes an employer thinks that person's so great, I'll teach them the technical stuff they need to know. That's teachable. Integrity isn't. Right? Integrity is not teachable. Autonomy and resiliency is not. Right? So here, if we look at these skills for you as club presidents, tell me you guys don't need integrity. You're in charge of a budget. You're in charge of ensuring your events are safe for your members. I mean, maybe you're having a wine and cheese. Maybe you're having, you know, that kind of thing. You have to have integrity to make the right decisions for your club members, right? Autonomy and resiliency, come on, right? People aren't thinking about when everyone else is going through midterms or finals, you're going through finals, but you're also the president of a club. And you have an event coming up and it's midterms and you have an exam that day, but you also have an event that night. And that person who was supposed to do that thing didn't do that thing. Okay, so that's where the autonomy and the resiliency comes out. Intellectual curiosity, lifelong learning. You are all here. You all chose to be here. Amazing. Okay, self-awareness, collaboration, all these skills you are getting as a club president. You might not want to use your club president experience because you'll have other examples. You know, collaboration in your classes, your part-time jobs, your summer jobs, your internships, your co-ops, if you're in co-op, you know, whatever that might be, you can use that. But civic engagement, perfect example. If you've never volunteered before in your life, I find that hard to believe. Any of you, I mean, for you to volunteer to do this is a big deal, but there's one. Worldview, you know, all of your members are going to be a very diverse community, you know, and being able to work with that diverse community. So all those in there can go into, you can use your club president skills. So here's a few tips and tricks when it comes to your resume, okay? And how to talk about your skills, your president's skills. And I'm happy to share this presentation afterwards if you want. I'll talk to Lilia, figure out how to get it to you guys. So But you always start with an action verb. What you did, the quantity, it's always nice to quantify it. So, and quantifying it could be led a team of 5 executives, managed a club with 500 members, whatever that's what quantifying it is. Obviously it's sales. So if you are getting sponsorship and you increase sponsorship by 10% from previous year, which might be easier from last year since there was kind of no sponsorship. So it'll be like increased it by 100%. It was great. And then the how or the so what I like to call so what, because people often put on their resumes, wrote reports. And like, so what? Great, you wrote a report. But walk them through, what kind of report was it? Okay, well, it was a report. And this is honestly meetings I've had with students where I'll be like, who did you write the report for? Oh, the deputy minister. Oh, okay. What was it used for? Well, we used to do a monthly report for the deputy minister. We'd submit it to them, and then they would look at their priorities for the next month based on this report. I'm like, you're telling me you wrote a report every month for the deputy minister that decided how the ministry was going to run the next month? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it's a little more than wrote reports. So wrote, where you change that instead of wrote reports, or you could write here, planned a conference. Planned a conference. I think you said you have a big conference coming up, right? As part of one of your big events. Yeah, I planned a conference. Planned a national conference for 200 professionals using excellent time management and organizing skills. Or planned a national conference for 200 professionals, which resulted in whatever it resulted. So this person who said wrote reports, I'd say you can keep wrote. Wrote is not necessarily a bad action verb. He could have used created. He could have used other words for wrote that are just escaping me. It's Saturday. I don't really need to think right now, but the source is good for that. Or look up actually action verbs for resumes. And that, there's tons of websites. I'll give you that. But let's say wrote monthly report for deputy minister, which resulted in prioritizing action items for the ministry for the next month. Sounds a little bit more impressive than wrote report. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about when you're talking about club president stuff. So I'm going to pick on the 2 here that were club presidents before. Give me an example of something you've done. Either of you, like something you did, something you.
Engagement by 10% in a year.
Yeah. Increase club engagement by 10%
In a year.
could be in a year. Use it, or depending what you want to focus on, you could say using a social media campaign, or whatever it might be. Yes.
Planned a, movie night for 50 people that broke our record of how many people attended.
Amazing. So planned annual club event, which resulted in an increase in participation of 120%, whatever it may be. That's where you quantify. If you can get that number in, because numbers look good on a resume, it's it's just something that numbers will attract an employer's attention when you see them like, oh, what's that 10 for? Oh, 10%. Oh, increase. Oh, that's good. Don't know what they increased. That seems good, right? What were you going to say? Or were you going to say something? You seemed like you were going to say something.
Based on being a first year in our club, we recruited over 50 members
You recruited 50 members? Okay, great.
this year.
So first year. So this was the first year of a club. You created the club? Okay, so lots of things you could do there. Established new club at the University of Ottawa by recruiting 50 members. established, created, developed, whatever that strong action verb is. You want to because that's basically how I would and how most recruiters read the resume. We don't kind of read the whole sentence. We'll read down and I'll kind of look at the action verbs. I'm going down. Developed, created, wrote, collaborated, blah, 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 as you go down. Okay. So yeah, and all those interests you could have simply have on your resume, planned club event. That could have been the end of it. Created club, established new club at the University of Ottawa. That could have been it. You could even say led the creation of a new club at the University of Ottawa with 50 new members. And then you get led. You get that first word is led. Like, what's that strong first word, right? So yeah, so this is kind of like the formula. And you can use it in a lot of different ways. I can say, using social media. You can say increased club participation. You could say how you did it. You could say which resulted in the club getting more budget. Like whatever sort of you think is going to be more impressive for that employer. Again, based on the job description, right? So that's kind of the secret. It's not really secret. That's how you should kind of structure those things. Now, where do you put them? Where do you put your club president stuff on your resume? There's a lot of different places you can do it. That's the thing. The resume, I know a lot of people always ask me, what is the formula for a resume? Your resume is sort of a little bit of science, a little bit of an art. So it is a science that there's certain things should be on there, certain things shouldn't be on there. It should, look easy to read. You should be able to go down it quickly, all that kind of stuff. But where you put things and where you focus on things, that's where the art comes in. Okay. So you can have, first of all, summary of qualifications, which I recommend sort of at the beginning of each of your resumes. Some people put an objective. I'm not a huge fan of the objective personally. I find objectives most of the time are not written well, or they're obvious. My objective is to find a position in your organization. Right? Or they're like, I remember seeing one when I was a recruiter. It was like, my objective is to better the world by bringing, and it was like a paragraph of flowers and unicorns and rainbows. Now this person was going to change the world. And I'm like, I'm looking for an accountant. Like seriously, like it's had nothing to do with what they're applying for. And those kind of sentences can go in your cover letter. Right? If you do want to talk about your goal and all that kind of stuff, and if you're applying for this role, throw them in your cover letter. Keep the summary of qualifications. It's 5 or 6 points at the beginning of your resume that you literally, look at the required for the job and boom, you throw it right there. So write the first 5 things, 6 things on your resume, the requirements for the job. So yeah, you're going to put in your education. 2 years, you could say over 2 years of experience working as a research assistant, or 2 years later leadership experience as club president of. And any of these, you want to put excellent time management organizations acquired as club president of. Yes.
So by doing this, length of the resume page be increased? Like, so for instance, in my resume, like you have the proficient in Microsoft Word, Excel, right? I just have words, like just says Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, and it just bolded. So the bolded ones are.
Yeah, and that could be fine. That could be fine.
Nothing.
Yeah, that would be fine as well. I mean, when it comes to those technical skills, again, I wouldn't put that in there unless it's required for the job.
Right.
Then have a technical skills at the bottom of your resume. This is right up top. So if it's like they're not saying you need Microsoft Office, all that, have a technical skills at the bottom of your resume, throw it down there. Because it doesn't need to be front and center. Same with like this. Like I put it as an example, but if it's not required, don't put it in there. Same with memberships or associations. Depending what field you're going into, being a member. So we have a couple of engineers in here. I think being a member, being a PEng is a big deal. Being a member of the Professional Engineers of Ontario can be a big deal. But being a member of, Comic-Con club, you know, maybe is not the best, whatever. Comic-Con's this weekend, by the way. Did you know that? In Ottawa? Yeah. Look at you. You're like, hurry up so I can go. Shut up, woman. And then the official languages, I'll tell you, if you are bilingual and you're applying for jobs here in Ottawa, put on your resume bilingual English and French. Use both the words bilingual, English and French. Your resumes are being looked at by computers. So do you want the computer to pick up bilingual? You also want to pick up English. You also want to pick up French, depending on what keyword is used. Okay, so that's just one trick I give when it comes to languages, right? So it can go in there. You can have some info about your club president's skills there. Okay. You can have it. Some people, I wouldn't, but let's say you have, let's say, a minor position in a club, or you want it, you can put it under your education. It's something you did during your education. I've seen it. It's not bad. It's fine, but you really can't get into what you did as a club president with just one little line in your education. So I would not recommend it, but I have seen it, and it's okay. But I would think you would want to sell it more. But let's say you had another club and you were just a volunteer. Maybe you just volunteered, and you could put that under your education. Volunteered for academic club or something like that. Okay. You can put it over, and I like this as opposed to, there's different ways you can do your resume. Work experience, other experience, work experience, volunteer experience, or relevant experience and other experience. Relevant experience doesn't matter if it's paid or not. Is it relevant to the job you're applying to? So that way your club president role pops right up to the top, or pops up, because usually this will be right under education, right? Relevant experience will be right under education. Boom, it's right there. Okay. Depending on the job you're applying for. If not, you would keep, let's say if you're an engineer, you put maybe your engineering roles or your projects or anything up there, again, as relevant experience, and then have the club president as their other experience. Or have the work and volunteer. That's fine too. You know, it's really not good. But you don't have to separate by paid work and unpaid work. It doesn't matter. It's experience. Okay. And you guys are going to get a lot of skills and experience for that. The other way to put it on your resume is in a skills section such as this. So for someone who doesn't have a lot of experience or relevant experience to the job you're applying for, we recommend what we call a combined or a functional resume, skills-based resume. That doesn't necessarily have a lot of details about the jobs they're doing, but they have a skills section such as this. And they'll choose the top 3 skills required for that job. And it could be anything. And like those are 3 examples. Could be analytical skills. It could be depending on the job you're applying for. And then what you would do again, and not just these lists, I always hear these lists of skills, and people just kind of list all these random skills down. You know, I'm punctual and I'm personable and I'm like, okay. It's much better to have this and then back it up with how you have that skill. You know, anyone can throw on leadership on their resume. But if you put, this could be one of them, leadership skills, collaboration skills, communication could involve and choose different. So you could put it there on your resume as well, depending on what the other parts of your resume look like. If you have already a lot of other relevant experience, then maybe you don't need that functional or skills-based resume. So it sort of depends. And that's why it's kind of hard sometimes to do a resume workshop, because a lot of what I say is, well, it depends. What's your work experience? What's your background like? What other experience do you have? You know, and that kind of stuff. Okay. So there's lots of different places you can put it on the resume to make it. And there, I said, other sections. So you can put it under community involvement, volunteer experience. You could put it under awards and achievements. You can put it as an achievement. Nominated club president. You know, 2 years running, whatever it is. Conferences attended. So if you're creating a conference, you could you could have a whole section on conferences, which sometimes for master's students, they will attend a lot of conferences. And oftentimes you would If you're doing an academic resume, so which is another kind of resume, it's what we would call a CV, a curriculum vitae. So, which is confusing because in French, CV is a CV is a CV. It's all the same word for the same thing. Whereas in English, resume is for employers, CV is for academic. You actually usually have a conferences section. Okay. Publications, presentations. Did you present something? Did you, your club? Professional associations and memberships, extracurricular activities. You could have it in there. I guess interest. I wouldn't put it in interests. I mean, because that's usually right at the bottom of your resume. And it's more just something you kind of throw in as to create conversation with the employer. So that I wouldn't put club president there, quite frankly. But there's lots of different places you could put it depending on, what other experience you're bringing to the table. Okay. Few things. I'm just taking a look at time. Oh, good. I'm right on time. You want to be, I think what's important is you want to be clear, concise, consistent, and proofread. I can't say this enough. I really honestly can't. I mean, it's fun for me as a recruiter because when you some mistakes are quite funny. I've had someone applied for a shift operator that actually applied for a shit operator. Don't think that's the job he wanted, but I don't know. And none of you know this, but do you guys know what candy stripers are? Do any of you know what candy stripers are? No. See, I get this. Candy stripers was what they call back in the day, and there's probably a good reason why they changed the name. They're hospital assistants. So they go around and they visit patients or they help nurses. It's usually a volunteer position. That's what a lot of people do. Well, I've received 3 resumes in the past where they were candy strippers and not candy stripers. Probably not what they intended to be either. Okay. So that's why proofreading is very important. It can really change the note on that. But be clear, be concise, be consistent. Okay. When I talk about be consistent throughout, make sure you're, kind of using that same acronym throughout about how you're describing things. Sure, no double entry. So you don't want to, on your resume, let's say have under communication skills, and then under the job, and then another section, kind of the same entry. You can use your club president skills in different entries, but you don't want to use that same entry throughout because it's just wasting space and you only have 2 pages. Okay. And make it readable. So I'm going to stop there because, I have 6 minutes left. So this is the Career Corner. We're on the 2nd floor of UCU, University Center. You all know where that is. I've had to ask that to everybody this week because no one knows what the university new students. You know where you're new student. You know where the University Center is? Yeah, okay, just making sure. So we're the 2nd floor there, and basically, if you are talking to your groups and you're talking to students or your friends, and they're wondering, it's like, oh, I want to apply for jobs. I want to do that kind of stuff. I don't know where to start or that kind of stuff. We do it all. Okay. But what we can do for your clubs as well is if you want a workshop for your club, you want to bring me in or one of my colleagues in and say, hey, I'd love to have a LinkedIn workshop. And I can show you how to create a LinkedIn profile and then how to use it to professionally stalk people. Okay. Or network, as I like to call it. We can do a mock interview session. We can come in and do LinkedIn photos for your group. We can, any of that kind of stuff. So my email's up there. So feel free to reach out to me directly. And, we can arrange something. That's something you'd like for one of your clubs. Okay. Or if you have a networking event coming up, because we're getting back to in-person networking and you want to have a little bit of a networking workshop, like how do I do this? Like, how do I go up to an employer and say hi? I can do that as well. Okay. Any questions, concerns, comments? I may need a hug right now. Are we doing okay? You're all staring at me and as if you're frightened, but no. Important thing too is if you need help with your resume, as maybe you're getting to the end of this year, you're like, okay, I know the skills that I have. I'm just not quite sure where to do it. Come see us. And we can help you with that. Okay. But yeah, and the other thing I got as a reminder, and this is something that I learned the hard way. Write your accomplishments down as they happen. Keep an Excel spreadsheet somewhere, keep a notebook somewhere, because you will be amazed. And all of a sudden you sit down to write your resume and you're like, can't remember anything I've done. And that's exactly what happened to me. I worked my first company, I worked for 9 years, never looked at my resume. Why would I? I thought I was staying there forever. And then I went to sit down and I went, I can't remember more than a month. Like I said, people would be like, well, remember that thing you did? Remember that article you were there? Remember you did that? Oh yeah, that's right. So as you're going through this year and you have a successful event, put it somewhere down so that you can come back to it and add it to your resume later. So you don't all of a sudden sit in May when you're putting resumes together while doing finals, while doing all that, trying to think, God, how many people did we get at that event? And how much money did we raise for that? You know, keep track of it for yourself. Because even if you don't put it in your resume, you can always use it as examples in interviews. Because you don't have to use what's on your resume as examples in the interview as well, right? There's only so much you can put on your resume. There's so much you do as a club president, but maybe they'll ask you a question about a skill you have or an event that you did that you can use from an interview perspective. So yeah, just as you go through this semester and you have those wins, you have those accomplishments, trust me, write them down. You will not remember them. You know, yeah. Other questions? Oh, I didn't have any questions. I'm adding stuff. Yeah. Questions? Was this helpful at all? Okay. Okay, good. It's hard to tell. I know, and it's right after lunch and everything, and it's all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I hope this was a little bit helpful to kind of, you guys are doing amazing things. You're going that extra mile. Not only are you doing school, you're leading groups. And that's huge to add to your resume. And I really want you to kind of be able to sell that well, because it's such a great experience to have. And will set you apart from everybody else graduating engineering this year, right? Because everyone else, the fact is everyone else is graduating with the same degree you are. Bachelor of Engineering is a Bachelor of Engineering. Bachelor in Accounting is a Bachelor in Accounting. Master's in Human Kinetics is a Master in Human Kinetics. What's going to set you apart is these other things that you're doing. Okay. So yeah, it's huge. And kudos to you guys for taking on the challenge. All right. There are no questions. I guess we're done. Yeah, 2:29. I guess I'm done. Thank you. Am I the last, or is there one more before?
One more.
One more. So one more between you and Freedom. Between you and Saturday night. It's gorgeous out. Don't mean to rub it in, but it's gorgeous out. So get out to a patio as soon as you're done here. I should stop recording now.
Yeah.